Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content. Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life.
What's up, pet pals? Welcome to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Now, our special guest today puts the capital G in global. She is a major champion for pets. She's here today to unleash some tips on how to safely travel and maybe even relocate to another place in the world with your VIP. That's very important pet. Please give pause and applause to the president of World Pet Travel, Angela Passman. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Well, thank you, Arden. I appreciate that.
All right. Where am I calling you from? Where I'm in Dallas. Where are you based? Where are you right now? Because I know your passport is stamped and full.
Oh, right at this moment, I'm in Kentucky, but I hang my hat in Dallas most days.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll go get some coffee together sometime. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I'm so glad that you're on the show because COVID sidelined many, many people. And people are getting the bug to travel. But I also think that we have formed a pretty nice connection with our dogs and cats and other companion animals. And there's always that wishful thinking, I wish I could bring my dog, my cat on a trip. Or you get a job of a lifetime, but it's halfway around the world. Personally, I would never be able to take a job and not be able to take my pets with me. So I want you to rewind the tape 25 years or so ago, because this is when you started World Pet Travel. And it had to do with something, a travel incident for you in Costa Rica, correct?
That is correct.
So tell us what happened. What was the
It's funny
story?
because you say you wouldn't consider anything without your pets. 25 years ago, my husband came to me and said, "Hey, we've got a job offer in Costa Rica. How do you feel about that from the US?" And I said, "Well, that's great. Can I take the animals?" He said, "Don't you care about the children?" Well, of course I care about the children, but the animals have to be able to go or I won't go. And so we set the wheels in motion and hired a pet transportation company to assist us. Things
And
that,
let me interject on that because 25 years ago, everybody, you know, we didn't have our smartphones. We didn't have a lot of things that we just swipe and find. So it probably was even hard for you to find a company like that, right?
it was. It turns out it didn't go quite as well as planned. And
Oh,
because of that, everyone arrived safe, everyone arrived alive. Just the planning and the logistics of it were a little wonky. Well, very wonky.
yeah, you
So
can say it. You can say big wonky on the air. Yeah.
big wonky. We were grateful that the animals all arrived alive and well. And at that point, I decided that I needed to start looking into a way to do it less stressful for families than what we went through. Um, it was it was one of the most stressful things that I've ever been through, and I don't want that for anyone. So I
No,
formed
and
the
I,
company.
so who did, I know you have kids, shout out to them. What kind and how many pets did you relocate to Costa Rica?
Oh, Arden, 4 dogs, 4 cats, 2 birds, 3 small children.
Wow. And your husband.
And my husband. Yeah,
How long were you there with his job?
we were there for 5 years.
And then you had to move back, right?
But the move back went very smoothly. I organized the move back and everything just went right along methodically. It was a great experience coming back because I had a little experience doing it myself when I was in Costa Rica. I started helping other people coming in and out of the country. So I had a system in place. And
Well,
it
it
worked
sounds
out.
like I don't know what you were doing. Were you a brain surgeon beforehand? This kind of led you to this career, right?
It did. It did.
What were you doing
Real
before that?
estate. I did
Oh,
real
okay.
estate prior to this. So it when we transferred to Costa Rica, of course, I couldn't do that anymore. So I went into helping families move their kids to schools. When we moved to Costa Rica, we didn't have any help with finding schools, finding real estate, finding anything like that. So I formed my company down there as Guardian Angels Costa Rica, and then
I
I
like
joined.
that.
Then I joined IPATA, which is International Pet and Animal Transportation Association, and doors started opening up. We started being able to help more people because it's a network of pet shippers that's been around since 1979. So that really
So
helped
I
open.
want to make sure people know what you just said. It is the International Pet and Animal Transportation Association. What's the website so that people can check it out?
IPATA.org.
Okay, ipata.org. I didn't realize they've been around since the late 70s. Wow.
79 is when they came into being. Yep.
And then when did you create World Pet Traveler? And we want everyone to please go to that website after the show, worldpettravel.com.
WorldPetTravel.com. We started in 2007 when we came back to the States. So we had Guardian Angels in Costa Rica, but then we incorporated WorldPetTravel.com when we came back stateside.
I'm thinking about your career. One of the biggest things you can buy in your life is a home, and you were a real estate agent. But I put my money on the most priceless asset you could have is what? Your
Pets.
pet. Yeah. So look at you went from houses to heaven with fur and fins and bird wings, right?
It started
So tell
out
people, yeah, go ahead.
Now, it started out as a hobby, and I never really intended it to become a business as it has. But I'm very thankful that it has because I get to help more people now. We help people all around the globe, as does iPATA helps people all around the globe. We've got a network of pet shippers in, I believe,
Nice.
countries.
Yeah.
Uh, so it makes life a lot more manageable when you get ready to move a pet.
Well, you also had a little time with behind the keyboard. Tell everybody about the book you wrote, how they can get their paws on it. And you can, for the folks tuning in on YouTube, they can see it.
I wrote Fly With Me, Relocating Abroad with a Furry Family Member. It just came out in August. You can buy it on Amazon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You can buy it on Amazon, and it tells about several of our stories where people have moved with their pets and didn't plan so well, how it came out good in the end, and then some of our clients that did manage it right from the beginning and everything came out well. So
Now, there's a cutie pie on the cover. Can you tell the 411 to our listeners who the star of the book cover of Fly With Me is?
that is Minnie Cooper. He is 13 years old now, and he has run from the neighborhood. So I don't know where he went, or I would introduce him
What
myself.
kind of dog is Minnie Cooper? I love that.
Maybe. He is a long-haired Chihuahua.
Oh my gosh. All right. Does he know he's famous?
He does.
And how many places has he traveled to?
He's
Would
been
you
to several
guess?
countries. He's probably been to a handful of different countries.
Name a few.
Spain, Italy,
Wow.
Germany, Costa Rica, of
Nah.
course.
Well, we're talking with Angela Passman. She is the president of World Pet Travel. When we come back from the break, we're going to learn, she's going to give us some tips because some of us want to take our pets with us or we have to relocate. And I'm hoping she can give us some do's and don'ts. So sit, stay. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. We're talking with Angela Passman. She is the president of World Pet Travel. And there are a lot of times we want or need to take our pets with us out of the United States because of a job offer, or we were on Let's Make a Deal and we want a 2-week trip to Belize or something. You want to do that. So I know there's a lot to know, but you wrote the book Fly With Me. It just came out. Everybody check it out on Amazon. Angela, let's talk about somebody that needs to relocate. What are a few do's and don'ts you could offer to make it a sane, safe trip for you and your pals that maybe bark, meow, chirp, whatever?
That's a very good question, Arden. The first thing they need to do is reach out to a pet travel specialist, someone through iPata.org, to find the pet shipper in their area to help them organize the logistics of the move. The iPata member like myself, is going to
Mhm.
have um, access to different country representatives as well to find out what the import or export requirements are for the country that someone is going to. So that's the best way to start the process, is to hook up with a pet shipper, a
Okay.
licensed pet shipper.
And when they're with IPATA.org, I just wanted to get those alphabet soup letters out. That means they have to have certain things in order to be a member. Because you mentioned years ago, you kind of it was not a fun experience. So now there's an organization in place, and members have to uphold certain standards, right?
We do. We've all been trained. We're all trained in live animal regulations, which is
Oh, wow. It's a thick book she's holding up,
it's a
everybody.
thick book.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live animal regulations by IATA, International Air Transportation Association. So we've all been trained in that, which teaches us more than just your average put a dog on a plane rule. Teaches us how to do
Yeah.
it safely. So you have
Well,
to
and,
pass
and
that test.
And that book is great, but you're in a business that is always evolving. So don't you always have to check because there may be a new law in a
Oh,
certain
yes.
custom in a country? Can you give an
Absolutely.
example of that?
Absolutely. Well, we have several pets going to Europe and to London, for example. And even though we do this on a regular basis, several times a week, every single time we reach out to our representative in those countries, we ask, has anything changed? Is there
Good.
something we should know about before we get ready to move these VIPs? So,
I like that. Very important.
pet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, all right, you mentioned London, so we speak the same language, um, and you think it's going to be a jolly good time for the pet. But what is a few things to consider? Let's say you get transferred to London and you got to bring let's say a big dog and a cat. So give us the scenario. What would you do to help me out?
Okay, the first thing we would do is examine their vaccination records to see where they
Good.
stand with vaccinations. That will be number one priority. Secondly, we would look into what travel kennels they have. Are they acclimated to the travel kennels? Is it the right size? Can they stand up, turn around, stretch out in the kennel? If they can't, if their ears touch the top of the kennel, they don't have 2 to 3 inches of headroom, travel kennel is unacceptable. So
Oh, okay. So if you have Kona ears, my dog's a terrier mix, and she's got them standing up high and tall, or like a German Shepherd. That's good to know because why is that? You've got to have that kind of ability to turn around, right?
it's for airflow actually, so that they can
Oh,
have enough airflow in the kennel. You got them crammed up to the sides of the kennel, there's not enough airflow in the kennel. So we need
okay.
a minimum of 2 to 3 inches of headroom all the way around the kennel. So
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. Keep going. I'm getting ready to get my tickets.
we would need to know, so for instance, for London, when you're arriving in London, when you're going to London, to determine whether or not it would be a commercial or non-commercial move.
Oh,
If you're traveling within 5 days of the pet, it's considered non-commercial, which makes life a little bit easier and less expensive. If you're going after the 5 days, or your pet is going on their own, it becomes a commercial move. So
oh,
for a commercial move, documents are very regimented. They have to be done within 48 hours instead of 10 days. There's quite a bit more to it when you go commercial.
so would the pet be housed at some sort of a boarding facility while you get reconnected with the dog or cats?
Well, hopefully you'll be able to keep your dog or cat with you until time to go. Then after everything has been done, we'll pick up your pets, put them on the airline for a direct or a connecting flight, depending on where you're located. And the only boarding that would be done is if they had a connection and they might be in Germany or in Amsterdam or well, they wouldn't be in London if they're going to London for a layover, but they would have a
Yeah.
5 or 6 hour layover.
Now, I know my cat Casey, the orange tabby, he's like Superman on Kegels. I mean, he can hold it for a while, but let's talk bathroom because that's a concern. What happens? How do they get a chance to be able to pee and poo?
Well, if they have a layover, they take them out of their kennels and put them into a large area. I believe it's about 6 by 8. I want to
Hmm.
think it's pretty good size. Um, it's bigger in some pet hotels than in others, but they let them out with paper and allow them to relieve themselves and to get some water. We don't want them to eat before the flight, though, because they
Okay,
run the
that's good to
risk of
know.
aspirating. So, and the other thing that's really important is when they land, we don't want to immediately let them eat and drink everything they want to. It'll give them an upset tummy, often cause them to get sick.
Do
So,
you ever wonder if they get jet lag too?
oh, they definitely do. They definitely do. That's why we don't want to give them food and water in large amounts right after they land. Give them a little bit of time, just like us. When we get off a plane, we're dehydrated, and we don't go drink a gallon of water, even if that's what we want, because we know it's not good for us.
You definitely have to make sure they're updated, you said, on all their vaccinations. And I'm assuming, praying, please, too, that they are parasite free. They've got some preventative for fleas and ticks. So there's a lot of like paperwork, right? That dog, cat, or what other pet has to verify.
Most definitely. Going into London, parasite treatment is required. Um, Not all countries require it, but when you do your health exam, the veterinarian is supposed to examine and make sure that the pet does not have any external parasites. So that is part of the process. Many countries do require it,
Hmm.
treatments before departure, so they kind of keep that from happening. Um, Not all
I like
countries.
that. Hey, everyone, we're speaking with Angela Passman. She's the president of World Pet Travel. We're going to find out some more situations after we take this quick break. So sit, stay, get that luggage packed. We'll be right back.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.
Welcome back to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Yep, that's me, Arden Moore. And we're talking with Angela Passman from World Pet Travel. We're doing a London example. So we're being careful. I'm doing the checklist with you. They're up to date on their vaccines. They're parasite free, no big meal for a bon voyage for your beagle, and easy go when they come out to be able to have a little water or food, but not, a smorgasbord. What other things? I mean, people worry, and the weather has a lot to do with it. Where are these pets in? Are they in the belly of the plane? Where and are they in a, you know, going in British Airways in the belly, or are they on a non-commercial? What kind of, how do we get them across the pond?
Why do you ask that? There's actually ways you can transport a pet. You can transport them in cabin, you can
Okay.
transport them as excess baggage, or you can transport them as manifest cargo, which is the way that we move pets, as manifest cargo. This way, they travel on their own ticket. They're in a pressurized and temperature controlled area of the plane within 10 degrees of the passenger compartment.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
it's dimly lit, so honestly, they sleep. They sleep throughout the journey. It's not as stressful as one would think. It's kind of like I saw an airplane. Close your eyes, people be quiet, and let's take a nap.
Yeah. Amen, sister. Yeah. All right. Well, that I never knew the term. Would you call that manifest what?
Manifest cargo.
Okay. What should they have in with them? We know to pack our passports. We know to pack our, extra pair of underwear and all that. What are some must bring for the pet? What should the pet's luggage look like?
Well, in their travel kennel, all they should have is some bedding. They should have 2
Okay.
inches of absorbent material in their bed. No toys, no treats, no special activities for them to do while they're in the flight. We need to keep them quiet and sedate while they're sleeping. And when I say sedate, I don't mean tranquilized. We don't sedate
Thank
animals.
you.
We do.
Yeah, I remember from talking to veterinarians, we think we may be doing something good to give them a tranquilizer, but that makes them, your word, wonky, and then they don't have their bearings. And so they're. I think I'm so glad you pointed that out because we're not drugging the pets and having them travel across the pond, right?
Right. Not to
And I can just see them getting with a toy or something else. And as a pet first aid instructor, I'm like, no, that's called choking. And so you're trying to keep them safe, quiet, and sleepy, right?
yes.
Yeah. And they can get their favorite squeaker when they get back off the plane.
It's a good treat when they arrive.
Uh, We haven't talked about the elephant in the room, De Niro. I'm assuming it's not like $2 to take your dog with you to a new job in Europe. But you can budget. I don't know how do people handle the finances of that? Is there a little payment plan or is there a tiered kind of pricing situation?
Well, it depends on where you're going and how large your pet is.
Okay,
Uh,
that's true.
it could be it could be $2,000. It could be $10,000, depending on where you're going, how many you're taking, and what services you require. We have some clients that want us to handle everything. Obviously is going to be on the higher tier of pricing. We have clients that want to do as much as they can on their own, less expensive, of course. Um, it is costly. It's more than your ticket is going to be. I can guarantee
Well,
that.
see, that's good to let people know because they got to budget that. No, I like that. Um, I mean, can you give me a couple of examples? You had your book, Fly With Me, and you've told some stories. Can you share a good one or one that almost went off the rails but came back?
Oh, absolutely. We had Tara and Tony who went to Japan, and they had, as often is the case, sold everything. They were at the airport with their animals. They got up to the ticket counter, and the ticket agent says, "I need to see your import permit." They said, "Import permit? What do you mean import permit? We have all of our documents. Can't we get that when we get to Japan?" Unfortunately not. But
Oh no.
the ticket agent gave them our contact information. They had to go because he was military. They had to go. We kept the dog and cat, Harley and Munchkin. We kept them for about 2 weeks. It was a Munchkin cat too, which is pretty funny.
Oh, those are cool. Yeah, yeah. The short, stubby legs. Yeah.
Right. So we kept the animals for approximately 2 weeks, acquired the import permits.
Oh
He was
no,
military,
gosh.
he didn't have to wait 40 days. So we were able to get them over there within a couple of weeks, and it turned out well. Now, of course, because they didn't hire a pet shipper on the front end, it was more costly than they had anticipated because they had to
Yeah.
have us come in and save the day, so to speak. We have
Wow,
several.
that would be scary. I mean, I've traveled with my dog and my cat in the United States on a plane. In fact, my cat, pet safety cat Casey, he's been to 13 states by plane to teach pet first aid, but fortunately, he's a long, lean, purring machine, and he gets to be in his carrier in front of me in the cabin. Um, I adopted Kona, my terrier mix of 35 pounds, when I was visiting friends back in my where I lived in Oceanside, California. I live in Dallas, and I had to bring Kona on the belly of the plane. And I'm telling you, I was so nervous until I saw her kennel come through. And I know there's a lot of anxiety. Anything you do to help reassure the person because our pets smell our emotional states, and you want that reunion to be a nice, happy, stable connection.
Right. As odd as this may sound, it's better if you turn your pet over to an individual to assist you with this because
Okay.
they smell your pheromones. They do smell your anxiety. and it makes them more anxious. So if you turn them over to a pet shipper or to another individual to take care of the airplane part of it, they'll arrive much calmer than they would if you did.
Yeah,
So
because you don't go, it's okay, everything's gonna be okay. And the dog's like, oh no, I should have upgraded to first class.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, another question, because I want to get another story, but this is a big one because quarantine, years ago, there were a lot more countries with major long quarantines. What's going on in 2023 for pets that are relocating with their humans in the world?
Quarantines are not as common today as they were 25 years ago in some countries. Um,
Okay.
now, Australia has recently extended their quarantine from 10 days to 30 days. Uh,
Oh,
London does not have, England, Europe does not have quarantine. Depending upon where you're going will dictate whether or not you have a quarantine. You go to Singapore, to Kuala Lumpur, you're going to have a
and
brief
then
quarantine.
does Hawaii still require a quarantine?
They do not. They
Okay.
require some vaccinations on this end before they take off, but then they no longer require the quarantine. And I may have misspoken. Years ago, there was more quarantine than there is now.
Okay.
So
No,
I
you
said
did say, yeah.
backwards.
But
Yeah.
so what happens? Can you visit your pets? Should you visit your pets when they're being quarantined, or does that add to their stress like mama's leaving? Why isn't she I mean, what do you suggest?
My own personal opinion, I don't believe that you should visit them while they're in quarantine because it gets them upset. They go off their feet again, and where they
Yeah.
settle down in quarantine, they're okay. They don't like it, but they're settled down and they're in a mode. Whereas when you go in
Yeah.
and you see mama, oh no, I'm gonna die and she's leaving me again.
Yeah,
And
I can just that would add years to my pet's life. I know that. Hey, we're
right.
speaking with Angela Passman. She's the president of World Pet Travel. We're going to wrap up this show after we take this break because there's some other stories she needs to tell. So sit, stay. We'll be right back. Hey, pet pals. Welcome back to the Arden Moore Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I want you all to have your pets earn their little airplane wings in a safe, sane manner. And that's why we have our guest, Angela Passman, on the show. She's the president of World Pet Travel. And from one author to another, please check out Amazon. Fly with Me is the name of her book. And it just came out a few months ago. So please check it out. In the book, you're sharing some stories. So we heard the first one with the let's hear another one. You got one. Share. I'm ready. I'm listening.
I've
I'm
got so
all ears.
I've got so many. We had a dog, it was a pug actually in Paris
Pug.
several years
A
ago.
pug in Paris. There's the next title of your book, Angela.
Paris, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And this little pug was named Willow. Willow couldn't travel because Willow was quite the chunky monkey when they originally wanted to move her. Now, normally weight is not an issue, but for brachiocephalic pugs, snub-nosed
And
dogs,
let's say fancy term for pushed in snouts. And there's pugs, there's the Frenchy bulldog, there's boxers, there's Shih Tzus. That's how I say it. Shih Tzus. Yeah, they have a little less efficiency in breathing when things get a little hot and all, right?
correct, correct.
Okay.
So our little Willow was quite the chunky monkey, as I was saying. We had to pull a few pounds off of her. It's for her own safety. She went to see a cardiologist in Paris to make sure she was fit to fly.
Wow.
It was kind of a big deal. So she ended up flying from Paris to San Francisco when her final destination was Houston because it was cool. And in the summertime,
Oh,
you can't fly into Houston with a pug or a brachiocephalic.
Houston, we have a brachiocephalic problem. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
no, that's real. Keep going because I'm intrigued.
She flew from Paris to San Francisco, and then we took her by ground down to her daddy in Houston, and they were happily reunited. Everything went smooth as silk after we got those couple of pounds off of her.
Wow. And it also brings up the point of the weather. And that really is a factor, right? Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. The temperature, generally, we like to keep it under 85. There are some airlines that will transport animals when the temperature is over 85, but not brachiocephalics. And it's okay because they're never out in the elements other than 2 or 3
Okay.
minutes when they're getting on the plane. They're
Okay.
carried they're carried in temperature controlled vehicles from the cargo facility to the airplane. So they're not subject to the elements as you would think.
Okay. Now, so I'm glad that Willow made it. Um, what about, there's all these forms you're getting arranged with somebody like yourself, a World Pet Travel, and I'm about to take a trip with my oldest sister, Karen, on a 9-day trip to London and Paris. And I'm finding myself saying, do I do insurance or not? Well, let's say I'm moving to London. What's your pros and cons? Should we consider pet insurance for travel? And if so, what's some things we should be looking for?
I don't believe so. The level of incidence is so low that um, there's what was it, 22 million animals that fly every year?
Yeah,
Quite a few, and the rate of the incident level is considerably low.
it's like
Um,
0 point something, right?
oh yeah, 0 point something. I'm sorry, I used to have that statistic. I don't have it right now.
That's all
Um,
right.
but something that's very important, which we haven't mentioned, is the Fit to Fly certificate.
Oh, okay.
Health
What is
certificate.
that?
That's to determine that they have no contagious diseases. They're actually fit to fly. It's an export health certificate. So, for instance, Willow leaving Paris, she couldn't pass her fit to fly exam because she was too heavy and her breathing was too labored. So that was the reason we had to get her down a few pounds into a little bit better shape. She
She'd
was so
do a treadmill? Was she? Just kidding.
she was so obese we had to send her to a cardiologist to determine what we
Yeah,
were going
that's
to
scary.
do.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but the
Well,
fit to fly.
fit to fly is very, very important. Um, do you ever get to help celebrities with their pets, even if they're on their own private uh, uh, planes? I'm sure there's still requirements as you're going into another country.
There are still requirements, and iPATA works with quite a few celebrities. We do different representatives in different areas of the country and abroad work with celebrities. So, uh, yes, we
So if
do.
Lady Gaga wants to fly with her Frenchies, she should call a member of the IPATA to kind of score that with their pets, right?
Absolutely. A good example of someone not doing that, you may remember the story a few years ago about Johnny Depp took
Oh,
his took his Yorkshire Terriers into Australia without any, on his private jet, without any documentation, without any preparation for going, and he almost landed in jail as a result of that. The dogs
right.
had, yeah, it was something. So even the celebrities need to reach out to an IPATA member to find out if they're meeting the requirements.
When's the last time you flew international, or have you with your pets, or was it just when you moved? You don't really travel with them just to take a vacay.
Well, last week I flew to Dallas with Cooper. The week prior, I flew to Paris with an individual's pet that they wanted me to nanny to Paris. So
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's the other part I wanted to ask you. Being a pet nanny, what is that?
we make sure that the documentation is in order for the pet, of course, and then we take them in cabin. Now, this is only smaller pets that can fit under
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry that all you Bernese mountain dogs, that doesn't work. You need
not
the
gonna
little
have.
dogs or cats that can turn around and they meet the standard to be in the cabin. So pet nanny, that could be a kind of a fun gig, right?
Well, I went to Paris, so yeah, it's pretty fun.
C'est la vie, c'est magnifique. I'm with my friend. I mean, how does somebody become a pet nanny? I know there's a lot of folks out there that are amazing professional pet sitters, or they run a doggy or a kitty or a pet daycare. But how do you get to that gig? That sounds like fun.
Many of our iPad members do nanny jobs as well. We do it when people want to take their pet in cabin and they meet the criteria. So reaching out again to iPata.org to find out the representative in your area, the member in your area, you can hook up with a pet nanny pretty easily.
And you've done it. So what's your thoughts about it?
It's good. It's good. Uh, you think about taking that cat out in the airport to go to screen their baggage, their carrier.
Oh,
So you have to take the cat out of the bag, literally.
yeah.
Just
What's your
they
tips?
if you've got a cat, always go to a closed-in. Always have them take you to a closed-in area. Um, you,
I've done it, and my cats are on a harness with a leash. And so when we have to do that, which is because cats have flexible spines, claws, teeth, and they're like, oh, heck no, I'm not
right.
staying here. Attitudes. That helps a little bit. And I tell people when you hand the cat to the person screening, never hand it so the cat's face is in that person's face. Switch and turn. It's like a huddle. It's like you're doing a handoff and you switch it. What do you think of that? Because I had a cat once named Zeke before I was smart, and the cat flew out of my arms and ran into the little store past the security. I think he was shopping for some water or something.
Yeah.
And I'm running through the screening with a team of security people because I'm trying to catch my damn cat who's flew in, and we were able to get her. Never again. My heart.
That's why they have that special closed-in area for you to go into this little room, closet more like, and they close the door and you take the cat
Yeah,
out
I
of the
like that.
scan the carrier and come back. Even the harnesses, we've heard of cats slipping out of the harnesses because they are so freaked out. So
And they're nimble. Hey, we just
yeah,
have a few seconds left. I've really, really enjoyed you being on the show, Angela. Any last tip you want to say or a message you want to say to folks?
reach out to iPata if you're making a move. Definitely reach out to iPata to find someone in your area that can assist you. If you don't reach
And
out
if
to
you're
one,
in your area, they go to worldpettravel.com, correct?
yes, ma'am.